So, um, in continuation of our previous, my previous video, now we are looking at the subtopic approaches in ecology, or you can say scopes of ecology. Okay, scopes of ecology. Okay, now when you are talking about approaches in ecology, ecology as a topic is actually a very broad topic. We can't study ecology as a single concept because it's very broad. So that is why it has been broken down into different scopes. In fact, each of these different scopes has formed different areas of specialization. Areas of specialization in ecology. So there are different scopes or approaches through which ecologists study ecology. So depending on your areas of interest, you can specialize in these different areas of ecology. Let me list out these different areas of ecology or scopes of ecology. Number one is ecosystem ecology, or you can say ecosystem approach of studying ecology. Ecosystem approach, number one. Number two is community approach of studying ecology. Number three is population ecology. Number three is habitat ecology, or you can say habitat approach of studying ecology. Number four approach is evolutionary or historical approach of studying ecology. Evolutionary or historical approach of studying ecology. Now, what is the meaning, or what does these different scopes in ecology covers? What do they cover? I'm just going to give us a summary of what these different scopes in ecology covers, what they deal with, what they specialize in studying, in as long as the holistic concept of ecology is concerned. Okay, now let's start from the first one. Ecosystem approach. I've defined the term ecosystem before. Ecosystem is a study of living organisms with their non-living environment and how they interact with each other. That is ecosystem. Living organisms and their non-living environment and their interrelationship with each other to form an ecological unit. Forming an ecological unit. Then you are talking about ecosystem, forming an ecological unit. Now, this approach in ecology, basically, deals with some terms like exchange of matters and energy. Under this ecosystem approach, the scientists that study this ecosystem, they will be dealing with topics or subtopics like exchange of matters and energy, food chain, food web, trophic level. These are different terms that will be looked at under ecosystem approach. They will be looking at functional relationship between organisms. Actually, what makes for functional relationship between organisms is actually the exchange of matter, the exchange of energy between organisms. So that is for ecosystem approach. Now, community approach, we have also defined community. Communities are different population of organisms in living and interacting with each other in an environment. Different population of organisms living and interacting with each other in an environment. So in community ecology is also referred to as syn ecology. SYN ecology, syn ecology. That's another word for community ecology. So community ecology actually deals with how different community in an environment interact with each other, also, and how they interact with their non-living environment. This is under syn ecology. Some important topics that you will come across. You come across topics like community succession. You come across concepts like climax community. These are some concepts you come across when you are dealing with community ecology. Now, the next approach in ecology is population approach. We have also talked about population in our previous lecture, in our previous where I was defining the terminology in the previous video. So population, which is the study of organisms of the same species living in a geographical environment that can interbreed with each other. They are also separated by geographical space. This geographical space separates them from other species. So population ecology is also referred to as ecology. That's another term, another word for population ecology is refers to ecology. Autecology, ecology. So under population ecology, ecologists that specialize in population ecology, they tend to study how population grow, how population is maintained, how there is increase or decrease in population, how there is decline in population. These are some basic issues that affect population. Is the population growing? No. Under population ecology, that is where ecologists deal with birth rates, death rates, fecundity, mortality rate, which is death rates. These are some terms that they deal with which affect the population growth of that species. Now, the next approach is habitat approach. Habitat has to do with the living space of an organism in an environment. Where an organism live in an environment is referred to as its habitat. Now, so habitat is a spatial concept. It has to do with, it's a spatial concept. Like I said, it's the living space of an organism in its environment. So it's a spatial concept, and habitat describes the typical environment of a particular organism. It also describes the typical environment of a particular population. It also describes the typical environment of a particular community, and also of an ecosystem, the environment of an ecosystem. So these are terms, these are the different subtopics or subtitles that an habitat ecologist usually deal with, because these different subtopics affect an organism in its environment. For instance, under habitat ecology, within an environment, an organism can occupy specialized condition. Even within a very big environment, particular organism can occupy specialized condition, and that forms what we call a micro environment or a micro habitat. A micro environment or a micro habitat. Within a bigger habitat, there could be micro habitat. Example of a micro habitat is in a forest. A forest is a type of terrestrial habitat. Yes, a rainforest is a type of terrestrial habitat. Under this same rainforest, you could study animals that inhabit under the logs, fallen logs of trees. Fallen logs of trees can form micro environment for some organisms like earthworms, like the centipedes and the millipedes. The logs of tree, beneath the logs of tree, can form a micro environment where you only find this set of species. So that is for micro habitat under habitat approach. Now, following this, we have the next approach in ecology is evolutionary or historic approach. Okay, so historical or evolutionary approach in ecology. Historical or evolutionary approach in ecology. Actually, this approach in ecology helps us to gain insights into why and how ecosystem, community, population, and habitat have changed over time. When you are dealing with evolution, you are looking at how species arise from existing species over a long period of time. How new species, if you are dealing with evolution, you are looking at how new species arise from existing species over a long evolutionary time period. So also in evolutionary approach in studying ecology, ecologists here, they are looking at how either population, habitat, community, or ecosystem, how it has changed over time. You will not expect that. For instance, this your precise environment, that community where you live wasn't like that 50 years ago. Maybe that place is a swampy area, it was full of, it's a swampy forest, or it's a rainforest zone. But over time, due to civilization, civilization, industrialization, your community became a modern community. trees were trees were felled, homes were built, industries were built. So evolutionary ecology will look at how organisms in that same environment has changed over time. They will look at how organisms in that same environment has changed over time. So that is evolutionary ecology. Evolutionary ecology also will help us to answer questions like, why are kangaroos only found in Australia? You see, today, it is known that kangaroos are only found in Australia. Evolutionary ecology will try to investigate why. Why are kangaroos only found in Australia? Kangaroos, there's a story behind why kangaroos are found only in Australia. Australia is a relatively small landmass that is isolated. It's like an island. So there's this geography explanation that when there was drifting of landmass, the kangaroos were stuck. The land drifted apart, ocean separates landmass, and then kangaroos became stuck in Australia because they could not cross the ocean. So that is why kangaroos, there's a big story around that. There's a big scientific and evolutionary story around that. They were isolated because of a drifting apart of continental. They were isolated in Australia because there was a drifting apart of large continental landmass. So that is just a simple way of looking at why kangaroos are only found in Australia. Evolutionary approach will also help us to see, for instance, rainforest habitats. They are usually the habitats with diverse species. There are so many species of animals, plants, and animals in rainforest habitat. Evolutionary approach will try to understand why. Why is rainforest environment full of so much species? And also, evolutionary approach also try to understand some concepts like extinction and speciation, how extinction takes place, and how new species are formed from existing species. Evolutionary approach deals with these different concepts and terminology. Now, also under evolutionary and historical ecology, concepts like paleoecology. Paleoecology is also one of the concepts under this evolutionary and historic ecology. Paleoecology has to do with the study of ecology using fossil records. Some ecologists, their own function, their area of specialization is to go and excavate abandoned places, abandoned lands where people or where organisms have once existed. They tend to use those fossil evidence to explain modern occurrences, modern population, what is happening today. They look at, okay, what they observe in the fossil, they tend to use it to explain what they have today, if there's any relationship. Like going into fossil to understand the modern man. You want from fossil record, there's this fossil record that shows that man originates from ape. Man originates from ape, and then there's a period called the Stone Age where man use primitive equipment like stones. From stones, man begin to develop equipment like sharp stick to catch their prey, to catch animals, to hunt for animals. So all these things, looking at fossil record, can be built together as an historic approach, evolutionary approach, to explain the modern organisms, to reconstruct the modern ecosystem, taking clue from fossil record. So This different approach of studying ecology, they are not in isolation. Sometimes they are interwoven. You can't study them in isolation. Sometimes they overlap. They enter into each other. There's no way you will study population without studying community. They are interwoven and they overlap. So with this, we have looked at different scopes or different approaches in ecology. So right now, I want to please appeal to you to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Subscribe to this YouTube channel. I am Dr. Adeyinka Gbadebo. Dr. Adeyinka Gbadebo, your biology lecturer. Please subscribe to this YouTube channel. Watch the video, like the video, share the video, and hit the notification button. Hit the notification button.